Well,
I
yeah,
could be wrong, but
exec, I believe that exec captures not just the entire thing that you've matched, but also will pass you back the small captured expressions of parenthesized bits. So like in the phone number example that I did, we capture not just the whole thing you specified, but any smaller captures within. And then match will just show you the entire string match. I don't know why one is more than the other. They seem to be pretty close. And I'd like to see how it's arranged internally, how that code is written. And again, don't use a regular expression if you don't have to. Whenever I see new code checked in that has a regular expression, I give it a second look. I've written enough regular expressions to know that they can really chew up the CPU, and there's no reason to thrash CPU if you don't have to. Other things that regular expressions are generally not good for, especially for writing your own. Validating HTML markup, validating numbers or number formatting. There's functions for that, right? Validating an email address, or URLs. There's tools for all of these things, right? Let me show you. I'll show you real quick here. That is a regular expression to validate an email address, RFC822. This is actually one of the reasons why I say if you're going to validate something that's really complex, think twice about trying to write that, because chances are you're going to do it wrong. That's just like when you try to solve a problem. If you're writing in Perl, they say go look for the Perl module because somebody's already done it and run the tests.
So that's nothing compared to one to validate URLs.
Right. And that just they get bigger and uglier.
So how should we do it?
How should you do it?
Yeah, you said there's tools. Can you tell us more about the tools?
Well, I would suggest finding a library to do what you need. I guess it depends on what you want. There are, so for example, other tools, validating HTML markup. You can use DOM parser or something in XML library, perhaps.
The URL or email address. You said there are tools for URLs.
Yeah, generally with those. Now, I don't know about JavaScript-specific tools, but when I come across an instance where you say, I want to validate an email address, or I want to validate a domain, I ask, why do you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? The guys who write Perl scripts say they want to validate an email address and say, all right, well, let me extract the domain. I'm going to do a host lookup. I'm going to try to contact it. I'm going to say hello to the mail server and see if it answers me. Then I want to ask about the username. Maybe I'll get a valid response. How far do you want to go to validate an email address? There's only so much you can do, right? So I don't know if anybody's got suggestions on validating email addresses or URLs.
Well, the big thing is don't try to do it client side. That's one of the things that client side is just, it's not good for that. I was actually researching the URL stuff because if you go on Stack Overflow and just look for regex URL, you'll see, valid answers. And the regex is like a mile long. It's absolutely insane. And some of the higher rated comments on there are just pass it to whatever library we try to connect to something and ask that if it's valid.
Yeah, that's a good
Even
idea.
without trying to connect, you usually would get something like in Java. There's like a new URL. You can pass in a string, and it'll just blow up in your face if it's not valid. We'll just catch the exception and move along your way. You know?
Right. Yeah. Many years ago, I would have written a regex to validate an email by saying, well, it's either going to end in .com, .net, or .gov, right? Maybe .edu. We're good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, even more low tech than that. It's part of typically you're collecting email, say for like an account sign up or something. Just pass a validation link in the email and have them click on it.
Right. Yeah.
You're trying to.
Yeah, exactly. Then you go back to that XKCD. Now I've got 100 problems.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a danger there too, where you think you've matched what you're supposed to match, but if it looks like that email address regex, maybe I've let something through that I wasn't supposed to, or maybe I'm silently blocking somebody from entering valid input.
The reason why I'm asking about emails is last time I checked, well, how do you validate an email address? They did say use this regular expression. So I was wondering, I'm not worried about domain. Domain, I would use the URL constructor structure, but for email address,
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I would say it's a string. There's an @ symbol in the middle, and there's some non-white space characters on either side, and that's like as far as I would go.
yeah, that's fair enough.
After you know that, then at least it looks like an email address.
Gets
You want-
rid of 90% of your failures.
Right.
There's no reason for your web app, your personal web app to, have the burden of that gigantic layer. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Not only that, some mail servers are actually out of spec. Like I think Google and Gmail, the plus symbol, if you ever use that for other
Right.
alternate addresses,
Right.
I don't think plus is actually allowed in like the RFC 822 spec. Is it?
Yeah, a lot of characters are.
Oh.
That's right.
But I think most of the mail servers will just take the plus and what's after it and throw it out.
Oh.
Right? But I know I have dealt with some sites where I've tried to do that trick by username plus, say, domain @Gmail, and I've had sites reject it, say, no, it's not a valid email address. So I
Yeah.
think, oh, I wonder what regex they're using.
Yeah.
They're using we're going to sell your email address regulations.
Right.
So going back to the RFC, I mean, for me solving that, one thing I might want to do is ask, well, what exactly am I looking to validate, and then I might actually go read the RFCs to see like what is the realm of possibilities in an RFC that's not the same. But some of them are. So.
Yeah, the coding horror article, Atwood was saying, yeah, I think that while you can use a regex for this, it seems pretty insane. Because God help the guy who's got to find the bug and fix it, right? What's that? You code review the entire building. I don't know if you get anywhere. So a few things that I'd suggest Googling. MDN regular expressions. A great resource there. Ben Nadell, I borrowed a few graphics from him shamelessly. A resource that I used when I was learning regular expressions was the regular expression documentation for Perl. Again, not all of it applies to JavaScript, but it's also helpful. Link for the Scunthorpe problem, if you're interested. It's an amusing Wikipedia article. And then O'Reilly's got several different books on regular expressions I'd recommend that you check out if you're interested in learning more and really grabbing the bull by the horns. So that's it for me. Thanks.